Oh, I'm Grandpa Alex Widlund. Live on 519 4th Avenue in Salt Lake City. And Jim encouraged me to say, get a little bit history of our families. So I will fall back to the birthplace way up northern part of Sweden and get some of the families over there. I was the place where I was born, or what our family was born, was in the place called Nederluleå, and that's quite a ways north. And my father came from Finland, Vasa, Finland, and he was only 14 years old when he came to Sweden. And he worked around there for years, and I guess he moved around from one place to another, and finally met up with what was later become my mother. So they got married, and they worked around the different places where Canaan settled until they bought a farm down on around there somewhere near the Baltic Sea. Just about the community was set up like on a hill, so it was really pretty. We was only 2 blocks from the bay, and was really a wonderful place to live, all right. And they finally bought this farm in Nederluleå, and father and mother, I don't know, they must accumulated some money before they bought this farm, because I never remember they had any payments on the farm. My father was a builder, and he worked in the city pretty much all the time, and my mother had this responsibility to take care of the farm. And we was 10 children in the family, so she had quite a bit of help. I mean, during the summer months, especially to harvest and take care of the farm. And the 10 children, we enjoyed our home, and everyone lived on the farm until we was able to get out and acquire a job for ourselves. And then I was serving in the army for 3 years, so that's what happened just before I came over to this country. But I want to relate something about my my girlfriend. It was not my girlfriend right at that time, because she had the cousin in Kiruna, not far away from the northern part of Norway, and she had the business there, her cousin had, and my and her cousin Hilma Christina Åkerblom, came there on a visit from the central part of Sweden, and that's the way I got acquainted, because I knew this family, this family, her cousin, and then I got in my mind I wanted to come to this country, so I took a passage over Norway, over to went over the North Sea, over to London, England, and I stayed a few days in London, and then I took the passage from London with Queen Mary. Took a passage over to Quebec, Canada. Well, after I got to Quebec, I took the railroad train, and Canadian Pacific Railroad, and took that as far as I had to go west to till I branched over on down to Michigan. I got down to Michigan, and on the 4th of July 1910, and I had my oldest sister living there in Gladstone, and my youngest sister came over, and my oldest brother came over, and one of my in-laws that was married to my sister was still living in the old country. They all came over, and we finally I finally decided next spring. This was in July, and I stayed there over winter, and next spring I wanted to go west. So I took a passage from Gladstone to Seattle, Washington. And I got to Seattle. I was working for a contractor there in building up the western part of Seattle. And after I got through there, I went to northern part of California, up to what you call Westwood, and there I took a foreman's job as a yard foreman for the Walker Brother Lumber Company in Westwood. They was originally from Minnesota, and I worked there for quite a long time. Then I took a trip to San Francisco and stayed there for some time, but I didn't like it too well in Frisco. I went to Sacramento and done quite a bit of building over there. I built some of the home out in Oak Park, Sacramento, and they had the fire there on the Union Pacific Depot, so I worked there for quite a long time. then after that I met up with a fellow that encouraged me to go to Reno, Nevada. Well, it wasn't exactly near Reno. It was about 12 miles. I mean, north of Reno, and the place called Verdi. So I worked there building logging cars and different things for the lumber company there, and after I got through there, I went to McGill, Nevada. Well, I worked in McGill now and on for years, and I liked that place very much. And now that was a time when I kind of decided for my girlfriend come from the old country, so I made quite a bit of preparation for her to come for a home and things what we mostly needed. Till we got married. But a peculiar thing happened when I was in a home about 9 o'clock in the morning. Unseen voice came to me and said I must leave that place. Well, if it had been any man who would have told me that, I wouldn't have moved. Nobody could have encouraged me to move away from there because I liked it so well over there. So that's really where I wanted to make my home. Well, this saying of the voice that came to me that I should leave the place, I medicated within my mind till I finally got to the point to ask where would I go if I leave this place. Well, he said, you go to Salt Lake City. Well, I never had no idea ever to go to Salt Lake City, but I guess it was some purpose in it, and so I made up my mind right then and went over to the superintendent and told him that I had some urgent call and I had to leave in a day or so. So he was kind of surprised to hear I was going to leave, but I left and I came to Salt Lake, and I came there on the Friday the 13th, and was kind of questioning if I was going to look for a job or not that morning, and so I finally decided to go out and get a job, and I got a job on the Bamberger Depot. Well, I only worked there 3 days, and I was transferred on the temple ground to build up uh, uh, the rear part and the kitchen part of the back part of the temple. So I worked there for quite a long time, and then I had a friend of mine that lived in California, and he happened to come to Salt Lake, and he knew the superintendent on the temple, and he asked him if he had much work to do there. So he said, "We're just about through." He said, Scotty was his name. He was a long-time friend of mine, and he said, "I got a job for Alec, on the Kearns building in Salt Lake." So he got me a job over there, and we made considerable lot of money because were working quite a bit of overtime, and that hastened that time for me to get the wife over from the old country. And it was 13 years since I left the old country till we met up in Salt Lake City. That's how long we was apart. But it was the reason that her mother was a widow, and her father got killed when he was quite a young man, and her mother had quite a time to keep the family going. So Hilma was the oldest one of the family, and she felt like she was responsible to help mother out. So that's the reason she happened to stay away that long. Finally, her mother, when I wrote then again to her, I wondered if she couldn't come over. The mother told her, "You better pack up and go now," she said, because the children was pretty well grown up. And she came over, and I was living with a friend of mine that Hill Johnson, and Peter Johnson, and his wife. Her name was all builders, and I worked for them for quite a long time, and we happened to get an apartment with them, so we stayed there for quite a long time before we got any other place. So that's the coming to Salt Lake. Well, we bought a place on 215 D Street in Salt Lake, and we kept there for quite a long time, and I remodeled and made quite a nice place out of it. And then the home missionaries started to come around to visit once a while, and finally, after a year or two, we decided to join the church, and we joined the Mormon church, and I was married in the temple and had our endowment, and went through ordnance work. Then I had some friends of ours that was much interested to help us get started on genealogy. So I got started to do genealogy and spent quite a lot of many years in doing that. And we lived on D Street there for a long time, and finally we got another home where we moved into, and finally I got to build this home here on 519 4th Avenue, and that's where we put in the rest of our days. Where that's where the wife passed away, and my second wife, Johanna Skau, also lived here for quite a number of years, and we used to go to Arizona, and spend 12 years in Arizona and doing a lot of temple work and things, and after we were through there, the wife didn't want to live there any longer. She wanted to go back to Salt Lake to be close with by her children. So we went to Salt Lake. So we stayed there until she passed away, and then left me all by myself. So that's the way it goes, and I can say I've been greatly blessed, not because I was entitled to a blessing, but God was very kind, and I guess He must have been mindful of me, otherwise He wouldn't have kept working on me all the time to try to get something done that would kind of be pleasing unto me and my children. So that's the way it went, and now I don't remember the year that I was Hilma died, but Johanna died on the 15th of September 52, now 72. So we had quite a nice time together, traveling from different places, and we took a trip back east on a tour for 23 days, and really was a lot of nice things to see, which we enjoyed very much. So that's. Think you want to go any further?
Why don't we rest for a while?
Huh?
We can rest for a while.
Uh,
Where did your father come from originally? From Finland?
yeah, from
Bertby or?
well, it was a small country place, I guess, named Bertby in Vasa. guess David spent quite a bit of time around that part of the country.
Yeah. Okay, now do you just want to kind of tell when you want to tell when your parents were born and their names and everything?
Well, you asked me where my father come from, that might be all right.
Okay.
And
So where did your father come from?
well, oh, you're talking to.
Yeah, we're talking on it right now.
Oh, my father came from Burtby. It was a small country place in Vasa, Finland. And he was born on the 6th of March 1844 and we went to Sweden when he was 14 years old. And he never went back to Finland. He stayed in Sweden and got married to my mother. She was born on 26th of April 1846 in the northern part of Sweden. And I guess he moved around quite a bit, I mean, in Sweden before he met his girlfriend, which later became my mother. And like I stated in the other part here, that I mean, they worked for quite a while, and then they bought the farm, which we always brought up till we was able to take care of ourselves.
Now, what was your mother's name? Her maiden name?
My mother's name was Greta Kajsa Blomqvist. She came from a very small town named Ronio, and I don't know what they met after they got married, because they had must have had quite a little accumulation before they bought the farm, and that way and my father was a builder and contractor, so he wasn't home much. He generally spent most of the time in the city and do a lot of work for the railroad. And mother had to be the boss to take care of the farm in the summertime. Father helped out me in many times on Saturdays and things like that in farm work, and that way everything got along pretty good.
Did you pretty well support yourselves as far as food with the stuff you raised on the farm?
Well, we raised most all the food we used, except we didn't raise much vegetables. We just raised like carrots, turnips, and rutabaga and cabbage and things like that, but no peas or any of that nature. So it was mostly our main food was pretty much fish and potatoes. And then we had cows and a couple of horses, and we done pretty good. I mean, far as the livelihood concerned.
Did you catch your own fish?
No, we bought the fish. Generally, fish came mostly from Norway, and in the summertime we had the small herring, that was put up in small barrels that we used every day. But in the winter time, they took the fish from Norway, what they had done the fishing, and then they dumped it on a lake in Sweden for freezing. So we could buy fresh frozen herring in the winter time, which was pretty good. My mother was a great woman for help people in the community. She was like a doctor and a nurse. She done a lot of good work amongst the people in the community, and the community people liked her very much. And she loved that work and was put in a lot of hard work sometimes by visiting and taking care of the sick.
How big was your community that you lived in?
How
big was the community that you lived in?
Well, I don't know. I can't quite. It couldn't have been more than 400 or 500 people.
Did they all live in one area, or were they spread out a little bit, like farmhouses?
Well, it was a farm community, so we didn't live too close together. We lived quite a little ways apart, all right.
Did you do most of your travel by horse?
Oh yes, I don't know. My mother and I was quite old chums. We used sometime in the winter time was to buy up a few sewing material and things like that, and then we go out in the country, and sell and trade. Trade, and sometimes they didn't have the money, but we took any kind of a grain because we could always trade the grain in the grocery store for what other commodities we wanted. So I enjoyed. I used to take like Christmas time. I used to take a week or two off to go home and help Mother do the baking for Christmas and fixing up for the Christmas tree and different things. So it was really a happy home, all right, where we lived. Father, he was too busy to do much homework, but he was mostly away all the time, except some Saturday he had off and could help out a little bit around the home, but lots of time he had to fix up some of the farming implement and things like that, so he was busy even if he was home to doing other work than social work.
How big was your family?
Was 10 children in the family. was 3 boys and 7 girls. So we was and my father used to ask me to not be in a hurry to get married. He said he was 35, he said, and had time to raise a family of 10 after that time. So I done a little better than that. I waited till I was 40 and married when I was 40 years old, and the wife was 41 when she had the first baby of 3 babies in the family.
How many of the children were older than you? How many of the children were older than you? Of your brothers and sisters, how many older brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, it was I was 4 older than I was just about in the middle of the 10 children. So my older sister came here to America with the brother to my father, and was she was only a young girl, but she liked to go with him to America, so I decided to let her go. So she couldn't have been more than around 15 or 15 years old when she went to America. She was the only one that stayed that long in this country.
How many of your brothers and sisters came over to America finally?
Well, I think they didn't all come to United States. Some of them, two of them went to Canada. So it was all except one that came to America. Outside there was 2 of the children that died a little bit early in life, so they didn't. So it was about 8 of us 7 of us that came to America.
Do you remember any experiences of interest that you had with your mother, say, around Christmas time or something? Some of that you explained you helped her cook, but what did you do for Christmas and stuff? What customs and things did you have?
Well, Christmas time was more like a reunion to us because we always had a big dinner on Christmas Eve. We generally had baked pigs, and the pig's head we generally had on a big platter, in the middle of the table there with an apple in the mouth. And then we had lutefisk and a lot of other good things to eat, all right. And then we had the big Christmas tree. That was something that was much interesting for the children. I mean, all the Christmas decoration was mostly homemade with pictures with candy inside of it, and apples and the things like that. And then we had wax candles. I mean, we don't then have no electric lights with that came later in life of our father and mother that they had the electric light, but it was pretty nice. Sometime you wonder how we prevented to not have fire. Sometime we had some peach splinters that we sometime lighted when we went through the hay house into the barn, and sometime we stick that stick of chipped wood, you know, you stick it into the wall in the barn, and that way we could make our light. You see, we had no other lighting fixture in the barn or hay house, so we had to depend on the crude way of lighting.
Can you remember any real bad winters in Sweden, or was it pretty mild, or?
And then what?
Winters, bad winters.
Well, we had the difference, but in the old country, in weather condition in the winter was a little difference because in the old country, when it got real cold, you never had no wind. But it really could get awful cold, all right, and you walk along the snow, you know, that make quite a lot of noise when you walk around. And then we had that what you call the Northern Light, or it's another name for it, bonus.
Aurora Borealis?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was really pretty in the night. It looked like it was a bunch of soldiers in the sky walking forth and back, you know. And we used to stand outside in the night and watch that northern light. It was a peculiar country when I was engaged in doing little mining in the mining district. It was about the 3rd of June, and we hadn't had no leaves on the trees yet, but the leaves start to sprout after the 23rd of June, you know. In 3 days the leaves was fully grown, so that was a remarkable thing. Well, way up north there, you know, that I mean, the change from the cold weather to the hot weather could happen just overnight, and that way there were the things that growed, and they had lot of speed to bring it forth.
Did you do other work besides on the farm to earn money?
Well, I partly learned a trade under my father, carpenter work, and followed that for quite a long time, and I worked on the railroad, do some building on the railroad, and then I went up to a mining district quite a ways further north than from the place where we came from. And
maybe we could just kind of, like you related to me several times some experiences that you had when you were younger, like when you had to go skiing, when you went skiing and had to worry about the pack wolves or timber wolves or whatever they were, and a couple times when you were out chopping down trees or something.
yeah, well, I told about that, didn't I tell you about when I was out on that contract taking on the timber?
Yeah?
When I got hurt, I cut myself in between the kneecap and
Tell the tape recorder. Tell the tape recorder.
Well, as I say, I thought I talked about that before.
No, you did. You have it on the tape.
Oh, that's all?
No.
Oh. Well, it happened that a friend of ours and my father took a contract of taking out some tractor timber during the winter months, and was way up in the extreme northern part of Sweden, and it happened to be the worst winter that you can say ever been known in history, because it kept on snowing there for 9 weeks, night and day, and I done all the cutting in the woods, and my father drove the team, down to the place where they took their timber down. And it was an awful hard job, because you cut down one tree and it just disappeared. You couldn't see the tree. You just had to stand and dig it up, before you can cut off the limbs and then cut it to a certain length. So it was really a hard job, and awful cold winter, and I was trimming off a tree, and I cut my leg off, and the bad part of it is up in that part of the country is an awful lot of what they call the Russian wolf. They're awful mean to if they happen to get after you. And I had just about 2 hours from the woods where I was working over to the camp, and had to wrap up my wound as much as possible, and I finally got home without any trouble. Then later on then we moved camp on the other side of the valley, and I had the last of the moving part. I had to take horses over to the new camp, and the horses nearly got around. I was there for hours before I could get the horses even out of the one place. So I finally succeeded in by keeping whipping to be able to make them make a move because there was no way to for communication to anybody because they was way out way in the wilderness. And then another thing, if it happened to be that the horse happened to get exhausted and couldn't move, then the wolf would probably come and do a lot of damage. So that's the way it was. And we had to get up about 4 o'clock in the morning to feed the horses because when 6 o'clock came, we was ready for the woods to get our timber and get things moving. We had to break a new trail every morning because the encountered the snowing all the time. So it was really one of the hardest winter I put in. And we didn't make much either because it was that kind of shape of the tree that was awful big around in the bottom, but tapered off so quick, and you only get paid for the top part of what it was 5-6 inches or whatever the timber was. That's the way they measure. So we had to hold an awful lot of dead wood for nothing. Well, then spring came, and we the other partner to my father had 2 boys there, and one of the oldest boys and me decided to let the whiskers grow till we came back home again. And so in that way we could keep the skin pretty well from get too much weather bitten. So we finally succeeded to get through it, and then when we came home it was time for spring work on the farm, the plowing and whatever was necessary to be done. So it was not much rest. You had to keep going because you had to do so much by hand. My father generally made all the equipment for farm implements and things like that, for the winter sleighs and things like that. He never bought anything what he could make himself. Then we had two horses and about 3-4 cows, and in the winter time we had to keep the cows in because it was too cold to have them outside and too much snow, so they couldn't get any feed from the ground. So my oldest brother one day, one Sunday morning, it was against the law to work on Sunday in that part because they could put you in jail if you happened to do something, if you try to be stubborn and try to keep on doing that. So he loaded up a sleigh of manure to take out on the farm, and somebody came over there and told him, asked him if he didn't know it was Sunday. No, he said he didn't know. But he had to leave. He couldn't continue. Has to stop right there because it was the ruling, you know, that they couldn't do anything on Sunday. I mean, no labor or anything for that outside of the necessary